I'm happy to greet you today at our webinar that presents the course on PR and marketing for science communicators. Yeah, thank you. Now we'll see the presentation. I have PhD in physical chemistry and H index of something like 13, 14, I don't remember, which I think is okay for someone who doesn't do any chemistry research now for 10 years or so. Then I switched to science communication and marketing, science journalism initially. And I worked on it, say, 360 degrees. So I did science journalism, institutional science communication research. I taught. I'm a co-founder of the first Master of Science Communication in Russia. I used to be a president of a National Science Communication Association, and I am now a consultant, and I train science communicators, public information officers, and also researchers on how to communicate their science better. I also have a smaller master degree in marketing as a marketing director, and I also had that role. That's why I hope my experience, that is quite diverse, will be helpful for you to learn how to communicate your science, how, say, better sell your science. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what is this science communication thing at all? There are different academic definitions of what it is. My favorite one would be that it is any action that transmits science knowledge, but also science practices, way of thinking, methodology to broader public. But this is not actually what we will be talking about today. Next slide, please. We will take a narrower sense. Science communication as a very practical field of work, not even work. This is what a researcher can do, literally communicating their science. Here, I just very empirically chose 3 channels. Peer-to-peer communication, which is also academically called scientific communication, science communication. It is when you go to a conference or do any other peer-to-peer communication, so that you actually don't go beyond your, say, academic bubble. Then there is dissemination, is when you communicate your own research, but to broader audiences. That can be a press release, you can give an interview when you publish the paper, that can be your social media, but it's still when you speak only about your own research. So your principal role is still a researcher who just wants to share what they do. And then science popularization, which is called in some countries divulgation or engagement or outreach, or even somewhere enlightenment. It is when you speak to broader public, but also on the broader topics about your area of expertise, not necessarily your own research. And here we come to something more like being a science influencer, a public figure, not only a researcher. You can be both, but this becomes optional. So no matter which of the 3 channels you want or you need to have, the communication skills and some sip of marketing will make any of 3 better, more efficient, and also easier and less time consuming. Next slide, please. So I wanted to do a quick warm-up. If you follow the link in Mentimeter, you will be able to answer question. So I guess most of your researchers, and I wonder at which point of your career you are or where you work, and to learn a bit more about you. Now I will share another screen. Oh, no, it is stuck. That's no problem.
Try again.
Does it work? So yeah, I see people inside, so now I can share. Still stuck. Sorry. Anyways, I will show you the results later. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. One last attempt. You believe me. So we have mostly people from early stages of career from academia. Can we go back to presentation?
Yes.
Okay, and the slide number 6. We can just jump, yeah. Depending on what your interests are, our trade show dissemination or peer-to-peer communication, we can choose topics and adjust the language and channels of communication. But the set of tools is essentially the same because of the nature of the process, right? Next slide, please. So today we will have that very general discussion if communication promotes or hurts research careers, because there are still questions about that even in 2025. And then I will show some taste of risk communication approach, because this is how I address another very common question. Is it possible to be understood correctly, or any word, once it's away, can be interpreted very differently and we have no control? Then I will give a quick introduction to the course, and then I wanted to have kind of small open mic, because we have an elephant in the room, which is artificial intelligence and how it influences our lives in general, but academia in particular. I will share my views, and then I'm happy if you speak too. Next slide, please. So, who is this guy? Do you know? You can write, or you can just turn your microphone on. Ideas? What is his profession? What is his field of research? No?
Maybe someone's writing. Let's wait a couple of minutes.
Yeah, physics, you can also narrow down. There are some stars. Yeah. Anyway, next slide. This is Carl Sagan. So see that probably we will be more focused on dissemination, because people who are into science popularization usually know him. Used to be the most famous American researcher. He's an astronomer, but he was famous in the times of quite old school ivory tower academia, when inside academic community, people tend to think that you can be either a good scientist or a good popularizer of science, and you cannot be both. And this more sounds like a hypothesis, right? That has to be proven. But if people take it as a fact, then they have to inevitably discriminate and choose one or another. And because public activity is easier to observe, but also kind of to quantify, and the research activities are more difficult to perceive or to measure, some peers of Sagan, academic researchers, decided that, yes, we are all, do we all agree that he's a very good science communicator? That's a very, very strong public figure in science. Yes, we all agree. So using our statement above, we just conclude that he is a mediocre researcher. So he was actually discriminated. He was not elected first round to National Academy of Sciences. He got some grant refusals. And then you can also argue that these are tastes. Maybe he was really not good enough. But then his biographers and some other researchers, they did that really boring work of comparing his the number of his publications, the quality of his publications, citations, and so on. And they built that picture of him as a researcher, not as a public figure, and then compared to some competitors of his, so to say. So people who were, for example, elected to the National Academy of Sciences in that period when he was a candidate. And it was shown that he was actually not a mediocre researcher. He was a very strong researcher. He was stronger than those who were given that grants and that positions that he was initially not. Here comes the Sagan effect. That Sagan effect is when you get kind of that your communication, public communication work is somehow disincentivated inside academia because people think that this is not serious, so they don't see you as a serious scientist. Next slide, please. Well, some time passed and society has changed, academia changed, but also research and social research changed, and internet came. So we know much more about both academic publishing and also extra academia activities like media presence. And we can quantify things. Now people have the discussions. So has contemporary academia outgrown the Carl Sagan effect or not? People argue that mostly yes, but then quantitatively speaking, yes, but qualitatively speaking, there are still some cases, some researchers who anonymously complain that after being interviewed by a lot of newspapers because of some cool academic publication, they got grant refusals, kind of being punished for their publicity. Still, if we go to hard data, if we measure things, measure academic performance and measure media performance, we see that top scientists are those who communicate a lot, or top scientists do communicate a lot. I will not argue what is the reason here and what is the consequence. You see, it can be both. But this is a matter of fact. So these two groups of scientists, top scientists and scientists who communicate a lot, they are overlapping pretty much. Here there is a graph from a French work where you see these are the levels of research career, the French names like director, the research. So the higher the position is, here, DR1, more people communicate. So this is age. So then, of course, people do not reach before 40-something the highest position. And then, but when you're already high but still young, you communicate really a lot. This is the top, right? Everyone else is below. And then the activity goes down with the age. So this also kind of can help us outrule the hypothesis that this is just a hobby and people, when they don't do much science, they start to communicate. In this case, when you are closer to retirement, you will do more hobby. No, this is, I think, is a good way to say that people communicate when they are on the moment of the growth of their career. So they probably think that it helps. As I told already, communication is not popularization. Not only, it includes professional networking. The more you grow, the more it's possible that you have to testify in front of policymakers and you need to do some industrial cooperation. So this is everything that includes communicating with, out of the lab. Next slide, please. what are concrete things that can help in your career, coming from numbers, big samples in research to something very practical? Well, usually we network at the conferences when we want to have our research seen, when we want to have more connections, build new cooperations. But conferences are, let alone the carbon emission and everything else, they're quite pricey. LinkedIn, this is an example of LinkedIn, of my LinkedIn, but this is not really the only medium you can use, is where you also can present yourself. You can read the post later. We'll just give a summary. It is called Nobel Prize Against Citation Incentives, and it speaks about this year Nobel Prize in Medicine, where 2 out of the 3 Nobel Prize winners are not academic researchers, so their citation numbers, age indexes, and everything are very modest. But still, they did something at the beginning of their career. They were already not in academia, they were already in a biotech company. They did something worthy of a Nobel Prize, studying the regulation of immunity. So my profile is a relatively modest professional profile. Here it says 500 plus connections. It's around 1,000, a bit more than 1,000. If you see the numbers here, and they already grew after this screenshot. So we were seen by nearly 90,000 people. There were more than 1,000 likes, 100 reposts. It's not a typical post from my LinkedIn at all, but this is something that can happen to you when you're being, so it's not a zero budget because you invest time and you invest your thoughts, your mind, but definitely cheaper than conferences. Why I think is successful. I mean, you cannot produce such posts every time, but it blended 2 things. A nice news peg, because it's a Nobel Prize, then something that is hot in the community, so discussing the citation incentives and all that measurements that are supposed to tell that you're a good researcher or not. And then it's something short and personal. So it's my opinion. So it's really, it's not long, it's not AI generated. I asked AI to polish my English a little bit, but it's really something personal. It has objective data, but it also has a personal touch. And this is how it worked. What does it mean worked? Did it make me famous? A little bit, but this is not what we want when we speak about our career, right? So why I write about this? Because I'm a co-founder on a startup that evaluates research publishing. So I am interested in corporations in that sector. So I want to meet people, but just writing people on LinkedIn, oh, hello, I am this and that, it's kind of annoying and people don't know who you are. Instead, when they came to your post and then they asked to connect, because then of course, couple of hundreds of people, I think they subscribed to my account because of that post. Then I invested some more time. I clicked on the profiles and I read, and if there was someone interesting, then I accepted the connection quickly. So when they still remembered that this is that lady who wrote that thing, and I wrote, dear Signor Pincopallo, as they're saying here in Italy, hello, it's really nice what you do about research ethics or about measuring science. I am doing this and that. Can we have a chat? Can we have a call? Can I propose you something? It's a funnel, right? So then someone didn't answer. Someone answered, but they were too busy. But still, this is something working. This is something when you create a dialogue, when you invite people to a dialogue, and it's also, you don't really look for them, you let them self-selecting. And when they self-selected, it's more probable that they are active, that they are interested. Next slide, please. This is something very different about very different language. So you can go viral on something that might with a task that might seem a very official technical announcement. Please, the video.
The colleges in Florida are a lot sunnier. I'm just saying, if you go to the University of Alaska, I'm never going to see you. They have a really great science program.
See, so this is a student marketing. This is a student marketing that used to be done in admission commissions that are, they show the employment, they show teachers, they show research profile and then ranking and all that kind of stuff. Does it work for Gen Z? No, it doesn't. And this is also the way to communicate your science. Not telling that you need to do that right now, but see how it can make real change. And here we put some of, which are also fun. You will get some audience that is not, not a target audience. But at that point, it doesn't matter, because if you get that much more visibility, you will also get target one. And you will also get the right message, right? That you can also be visible to people who are your target audience. Next slide, please. So is it possible to be understood correctly? The short answer is no. This comic is really, really old. Before I was always showing it without a copyright. I felt ashamed, and so I found the credit is Saturday Morning Breakfast serial comics, which is usually we call it Just Scientist Rapes Reporter. You can read it now, right? This comic is usually used to kind of demotivate scientists to talk to people, because journalists, they don't understand things. They only keep that registration machine and then draw some societally relevant conclusions. Let's call them this way. It's also interesting in the optics of what I will be telling after. If you look at this, journalists didn't really pick things randomly and not even for pure hype. It's really about societal relevance, right? So what is it in societal relevance in something when people speak about cancer, that cancer is cured? And then when they hear, toward the future, then something clicks, so we travel to the future. And then the relation between mass media and other stakeholders in society is also something very relevant. So it got interpreted as scientist rapes reporter. How can we try to manage that situation? Next slide, please. So I adopt risk communication approach, which when you are tailoring your message, when you're preparing your text, you ask yourself 3 questions. The first question we usually do: what do I want to tell to them? This is easy, if I don't know the answer, I will not even start. But then we tend to stop here. So I decide what I want to tell, and I tell this. So what do they want to hear from me? That's the second question to be asked. And this is something about societal impact and their values and that kind. If you remember the poor reporter or a poor scientist that the reporter that was raped, you remember that cancer cured. This is exactly what do they want to hear from me. So when a reporter comes to write an article about some new cancer research, they have this in mind, and you cannot ignore that. It's also it's not always predictable what they want to hear from me. But in that case, it was quite predictable. And then the third question, even more complex, what is that they can get wrong? It's the risk, right? That's why it's called risk communication approach. So what is their background knowledge, their background ideas that can make them getting that wrong? Next slide, please. To illustrate how this approach works, this is my practical example from 5 years ago workshop. I just like it so much that I keep using it more and more. So it was a demographic institute in Germany that is a real paper that we were working on to present it. The impact of Hurricane Maria on out-migration from Puerto Rico, evidence from Facebook data. So the demographic people who use also non-conventional demographic sources like Facebook data. So what do I want to tell to people? This is quite easy, I guess. I want to tell how many people came from Puerto Rico to the mainland US as a result of that hurricane. So I want actually to measure the impact, the demographic impact of the hurricane. What do they want to hear from me? Any ideas? They want, I don't know, that's a hypothesis. They probably want to be reassured. They want to say, okay, this is not so critical. You know, they really, something like migration always sounds a little bit scary. You know, they want data, but they maybe don't want to be scared. What is that they can get wrong? Is there anyone from the US? No. Then I guess it's complicated. Okay, the question is, Puerto Rico is a US state, US territory? Is it a foreign country? What is it? General geography question. Turn your microphone on. It's a US territory. Yeah, thank you. Do you think if people in the US know that it is a US territory? Not everyone, apparently. So the trick here is that we don't want to, you know, we as responsible researchers, we don't want to create anti-Latin, anti-Puerto Rican vibe, but we don't want to be, I mean, people who really, really want to create that vibe, they will. But we address some centrist people who just repost what they see, right? So, but they can simply don't know. And then they will tell, okay, these are the foreigners who are illegally coming to our country. We don't want that. That's why when we were tailoring the title of the release, we were including there demographers calculated the migration from US territory, Puerto Rico, to the mainland United States. This seems small, but this addresses the concern, and this also addresses like the potential harm, because like you don't want to be involved into causing racial hatred, and you can try to avoid by underlining this, and at least again by educating those who simply don't know. And this doesn't work in 100% of cases, but it works quite a lot. Next slide, please. It's about us. So I spoke about myself already. Ksenia Spiridonova, who is here with us, will be the second teacher on the course. She has a degree in science communication, and she's a marketing communications manager. And she's my colleague from Ecuador Science and Education. That is a think tank, the consultancy that helps universities to do excellence programs, to build their research agenda and things like that. Next slide, please. So, will it work for my career? This is a personal account of my former colleague whom worked under my supervision in Digital Science magazine in Russia. And Mikhail, he always worked a little bit in between science and science journalism. So I captured him at the journalistic moment after his PhD. And then he turned back to science. He went to Denmark, to Aarhus University. And so he is convinced that his science journalism, his science communication skills really helped him to win a Marie Curie fellowship, which actually allowed him and his family to do research. He's a material scientist in Denmark. So he suggests that these are really useful things to promote your research career and not only to become an influencer if you want to do that. Next slide, please. So what's the course? So we will have 4 sessions every Thursday from next week. They are usually 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, more 1 hour and a half sessions. They are interactive, hands-on. That's why before we ask the participants that small questionnaire. We want to learn about you. We want to have a self-introduction on which then we work to analyze it, to improve it. And then some your favorite papers of yours, some favorite pieces of yours that you might be interested to promote, or maybe if they are already too old to promote, you would like to use as an example. Next slide, please. The first session is about presenting yourself. This is where we will be working on that famous paragraph, and we will also working a little bit on speaking, video registering, because we will try to do it orally, not only written, to tailor it to the desired public, to prepare that paragraph and 2-sentence speech, presentation paragraph and 2-sentence speech of your work. Next slide, please. Writing with and without AI. We'll speak a little bit about storytelling in science. We'll then prepare for writing and speak about audiences and channels. And we'll start to draft a text, a long form, which we will choose if it's a press release or it's a blog post. It can be your personal blog post or a LinkedIn post. Then say some longer form of communication. Next slide, please. The third session is about social media. We will have a little overview of where you can be and why. Speak about some technical information, how much you post, how you interact. Is it annoying or is it a pressure to post? How to translate your written work for social media. Then we will take your written piece as an, let's say, as a starting point to prepare social media posting. We will draft a post or Blue Sky or Twitter thread, or we will do a video script for a short video if you prefer. So that would be up to you to choose. And the next slide. And the concluding session will be more on the marketing side. If you think about having a startup, any innovation activity, or go to industry with your research, we will have a basic understanding of communication strategy, on how marketing communication differs from just communication, just presenting yourself, how to think about your work and a little bit about yourself as a product. And we will do always try it yourself to draft presentation. Next slide, please. So this is a course in a nutshell. You can follow the QR code, and I will put the link, the registration link in the chat. And please have this promo code that will be active today, and we'll get a little bit of a discount. So now the link is in the chat. Any questions so far? Good. Okay. We still have 10, 15, 20 minutes. Let's speak about LLMs. So This is an October report. The data is up to May, and the authors argue that in May 2025, the human-written articles being published on the web, now we are not speaking about the research articles, but the whole body of everything published on the web, lost the battle to AI. Next slide, please. However, say it's kind of stagnating, so it's not for now, yeah, because things change drastically with every new ChatGPT model. We don't know what's the situation in October, but at that moment, the number of AI-generated content kind of stagnated. So we don't know if it's really completely overtaken or not. Next slide, please. Well, academia is has to publish. Publish and perish is still here, and it's probably staying here for a while. So this is a piece of research that was assessing how many articles have some AI-generated text and how many people disclosed it. This is a growing number. I'm not telling that every article, every research paper that includes AI-generated text is a fake one, don't get me wrong. For example, the same article speaks that not native English-speaking authors tend to use AI-generated text, let's say, the text with the traces of AI generation more. And here, maybe some very, very snobbish British professors would say, oh, we knew that these people, they don't have the proper research ethics. I would not say so. I would say just that we are normal people and this is not our native language and we struggle and we want AI to polish our texts. And also, for example, they saw more use of AI in abstracts. And this is the obvious reason, because it's easier to ask ChatGPT to write your abstract having your paper already done, or try to squeeze it, and it's very good in it. But still, it's clearly a risk that now you can just press 2 buttons and ChatGPT will generate the whole research paper for you. It should not. They should put limitations on that, but you can ask the question differently and it will still do. So it's a huge risk not for science itself, but for academic publishing and as a consequence for research evaluation as it is now, as of 2025, because the research evaluation is still very much numbers-based, and this is, one can say, increasingly numbers-based. Next slide, please. That's also valid not only for papers, but also for grant applications and grant reports. And when we spoke about Marie Curie actions, for example, a former colleague who is an evaluator there came and he told, now it's impossible to judge anything because they all come these very perfect texts that respect all the rules. Because the researchers, aspirant researchers, are clever people, so they trained their little LLMs to perfectly meet the expectations of Marie Curie evaluation committees. And then what? It made it completely impossible to judge. I'm not arguing that it was perfect before. I'm not arguing that also before it was properly judged, because anyway, there are too many applications for too little places, and to pretend that they were really, among 200 very good applications, 100 chosen were really those much better. No, it was always some factor of luck, of just a chance. But now, if all the applications are equally perfectly written, it became much more difficult. And also some of them can be perfectly written without having a good science behind. You cannot judge. This is where I want to leave you. What do you think? How do you use large language models, ChatGPT in your work? Is it helpful? Is it harmful? Notes. I mean, I'm a heavy user of AI, definitely. And I think it's good. I think it helps save a lot of time. It helps improve our English because we're not native speakers and we're not, interpreters or philologists. So it was really, everyone knows that it creates an equality in academia, that you are kind of automatically discriminated because, your articles are not perfect. I mean, articles, definite and indefinite, not papers, are not perfect. So in a sense, it's an equalizer and it's a help, but the risks are what they are. The fabricated research grows also very much, and it's getting much more difficult to identify it because now, you don't need to copy paste and rotate the images, or you don't need to really plagiarize someone's text. It generates for you everything that is completely original and can be completely senseless at the same time. So that's an interesting topic also to address from a science communication perspective, how we understand that this is a research worth communicating. So now I'm speaking about myself as external communicator. So, thank you, Teresa. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. And I also agree with Dinara. Yeah, thank you. That makes sense. Once you use it and not misuse it or abuse it, it's an instrument. And a very good one. Next slide, please. So going back to the course, it's just a reminder of the pricing and where to find it. I hope you liked the session, and I hope we see each other next Thursday with some of you. Any questions? Last round? Not, it's not the last round. If you have, no, we didn't put here an email. I will put in the chat, and no, we will do a better thing. We will send post-webinar email, and we will give you all the contact details there, so they remain in your mail. And if you decide to sign, if you think of signing up, you better do it today because then the early bird code will burn, and I don't know if it is coming back like a phoenix bird. It's an early bird, is a phoenix bird or not. I will be grateful to see you. Oh, yeah. Good. Let's be in touch, and have a nice evening, day, morning, if someone has morning. Thank you. It was really good to see you. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Thank you.